The first thing I always do. Oh, nice. The way we start the series off by doing favors. This is Jordan. I've left links to his music if you'd like to go check that out. That's all in the description of this video. I think that the standout of this video is that obviously Jordan plays electronic music and his approach is much more what mine used to be before I got into this whole electronic music game. It's a bit more organic, I guess. For me, since doing this YouTube thing and being pulled into this direction of what gear is capable of, like how far can you push the beep boop, pushing buttons, programming sequences, that whole sort of thing. It's interesting to almost come full circle in a way and land where I was about 5 years ago, back when I was playing drums in a band, you know, like physically playing drums, the most analog possible. While Jordan is definitely an electronic musician, this is sort of the feeling that I got from his approach. He uses vintage gear like the Roland 606 drum machine, which is a big focus of this video, along with the Arturia keystep where Jordan plugs in his sequences 100% live improv. In this example, we sort of stripped it down a little bit and used one of the synths available in my studio, the OP6 Mark II, and I'm super lucky to have had him on the channel. He came in from out of town and he played at this festival called Mutech in my hometown, Montreal. He had some time to come to my studio before that, so thank you so much, Jordan, for showing up. It was a pleasure having you here. Let's take a look at his setup. The 606 is like the foundation of the setup. I guess just explain how you would use it and why you chose the 606, because it is a really old piece of gear, right? So
yeah.
like what's the point of choosing it?
Old and, well, I won't say unreliable because it's been quite reliable, knock on wood. In my live setup, I have a TR-8S, which is hooked up by DIN sync cable to the 606 through a box that translates MIDI into DIN sync. I won't get into that because I can't. So basically, the reason I use the 606 is not only do I like its sound, which has very cool hi-hats and crunchy snare. I learned to love the kick as well, even though most people really don't like the kick. It's a bit small. It's an analog machine.
Right.
It doesn't sound like an 808.
Okay, because there's always a difference between hearing it like on YouTube through your headphones versus hearing it through a sound system. Like there's
the kick is small. The kick is small.
It's small regardless. Okay.
Yeah. When I use it in the studio, I tend to beef it up. But some people love it. But most people kind of love the machine, aren't crazy about the kick.
Okay.
Another drawback of this machine, well, some say drawback, is that there's only one output. So unlike the 808, 707, 909, there's only one output, so you have less control. You do have a dedicated knob for every sound, almost every sound.
Okay.
So you can get a balance. The positive of that is that it has a groove of its own. It's like on an 808. When you put it out of the main output, it sounds different than if you use the separate outputs. It has a different groove. The interactions between hi-hat and snare cut each other off in a different way.
Yeah.
So there's a funk to it, which I love. But the main reason I use it, I've been using it for 15 years for live shows, is the triggers. The high tom and the low tom sounds, I use them as triggers for external synthesizers. I use a mini jack from the output of the low tom, a mini jack from the output of the high tom to connect, in my case, to an SH-101 input of the sequencer, and for tomorrow's gig, a JX3P, which has a polyphonic sequencer in it. And besides that, right now, for example, I'm using it to trigger Arturia keystep, which is connected by MIDI, in this case, to the Korg.
Right.
But for my gig tomorrow, it will be connected to a Matrix 1000.
Okay.
The reason I prefer using these trigger outs rather than using, for example, the MIDI functionality of the Arturia sequencer is with the trigger outs, I don't have to count the steps or the length of each step in MIDI. I don't have to calculate anything. The rhythm that I tap into the 16-step sequencer, that's the rhythm it plays the sequence I program into the key step.
Okay.
So it's like dumb proof. It's perfect for me.
Right. And so it seems like the most hands-on setup pretty much. Like
for me, yeah.
For the thing that I like to compare it to is the TR-8S because
Yeah.
it's like same thing. You tap it in.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the only reason why you picked this over the TR-8S is because you just like the sound of the 606. It's analog and
Well,
it sounds good through the master.
I also
route.
use the trigger out from the TR-8S. It has a similar thing in my studio for a third synth. I have in my studio the TR-8S trigger out is connected to a key step, which is connected to a Poly 6. Now I have a polyphonic sequencer that's triggered by my TR-8S in the studio, and it's all hands-on, you know. So since I do like improvisation live, I don't have to think. I can just tap in the rhythm. I don't have to say, okay, I need to do like 4 steps and then tie it to the next one. When you program sequence with MIDI, you have to think of the rests and the ties. And that's something my brain just can't do live.
Yeah.
First, I can just show you how the 606 sounds.
Yeah.
This is the kick.
You don't have any control over...
I have an accent control, which does affect the sound.
But there's no envelope or
anything. Nothing.
Really? Okay.
Just the interaction between the... It's the most simple drum machine out there, but it's lovely.
Interesting.
So this is like the closed and the open hi-hat. And it's so easy to use. So this is the closed hi-hat. Right now it's a 32-step sequence. So you see that's the closed one.
Right.
And then the open hi-hat. Then, okay, snare drum. Okay, put up the volume. Like, it's a funky little machine, really.
Yeah.
So I want to tap it in. What we're hearing is also the accent. So now, at the moment, the high tom is triggering the key step, which is connected there. So I'm gonna start from scratch here. So okay, it's not gonna be great, but I'm gonna. Fix it. Okay, this is a kind of dumb sequence, but I'll keep the rhythm just for the heck of it.
Change that on the fly. Okay. Okay.
Now. Like,
so however many chords you put in there.
Or not chords.
Okay.
I'm just doing nonsense now.
Okay.
Now I'll just...
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
That's
like
cool.
It's fun to play like that.
Yeah. Just the style of music that you play, I'm assuming that you gravitate more towards longer sequences like that. Like you could get a little bit more complex.
Depends.
And that's
yeah, it really depends.
But it's just cool that you have the option to do that because the style of music that I've been doing, which is more techno based, so I guess like we never really get into this territory. It's very like one sequence.
Yeah, I mean people call my style more jazzy, I guess.
Okay, and you could make like really long sequences on the fly and then just like recycle.
Well, it's only limited to how many steps.
I think it's 128.
The more simple, the better usually. So usually it's like 4 chords or. Like the bass line can sometimes be a bit more sophisticated, but I like keeping things simple.
Okay. next important topic that Jordan gets into here is transitions. Transitioning from one scene, idea, whatever, to the next is something even experienced musicians have a hard time with sometimes. Seems to be a bit of a challenge for all of us, but before getting into that, let's talk about today's sponsor, DistroKid. If you're here, chances are that you already release your own music, or maybe you're aspiring to officially release your own music. So how do you do that? Well, I'm here to let you know that DistroKid is the music distribution platform to go with if you're an independent artist or producer and you just want to do it affordably and very easily. So here's a few reasons why they're great. In terms of what's new, they recently released a smartphone app, which makes checking your important DistroKid stats easy and accessible. The app is now available on Android through the Play Store. Essentially everything that you've been able to do on the DistroKid desktop app, you're now able to do through your smartphone. In fact, here's a list of key features that the app offers you. You might want to pause it now if you want to check them out. In today's day and age, we all know how many hats we have to wear as artists and producers. It can just be a lot, so write the music, produce the music. Then you've got to create content to promote it a few weeks before it's released. Then you've got to continue creating content after it's been released to promote it. It's a lot, and I'm not saying that DistroKid does all of this work for you, but they do make it a lot easier for us with the free promotional tools that they offer. The one I use most is Hyperfollow. It's essentially a free landing page or link tree. It's super clean. You could link maybe your latest video, your latest single, other important links you'd like to lead people to. I also use promo cards whenever I release a single. Just select the single that you would like to promote and it'll auto-generate a few different options for you to choose from. Go with DistroKid. It's just over $20 a year to release unlimited music to all major streaming platforms. You keep 100% of your streaming royalties. So many other tools that they offer for someone who's independent. They're made for us. And there is a discount linked in the description of this video if you would like to join. In terms of like sifting through your entire set, let's say, this is something I always ask everybody, like how would you transition from one thing to the next with this type of setup?
With sheer horror. I have to be focused. Likely what happens, I work up to something. There's some cool sequence going on 3 different synthesizers and 2 drum machines at the same time. I'm sick of it, Okay. Take out everything, leave the drums, quickly program. If my headphones connected to the mixer, but nobody can hear except me, program something real quick. Yeah. Slowly take out the drums, leave a kick, switch something, put the new sequence in, like it's just on the fly. So it's really just improvise on the fly. Yeah, that's what I do. The way I start a show is just during the sound check, I come up with a sequence, and that's how I'm going to start the show. Okay. So this isn't like the cutting edge of new technology. It's like you decided to stick in the vintage era, I would say. There's so many other sequencers too. What I focus on this channel a lot, sequencers like the Oxy one. A lot of buttons, but it's like a really complex sequencer that just like throws out all these ideas at you. Whereas this is a bit more like bare bones, where it's... I like keyboards. I like musicality is a big thing for me. Okay, you like to play with keyboards. Yeah, I really want to be able to play chords and melodies that I want to play. Okay. And not rely on a matrix. Okay. That's why this appealed to me so much. So especially since it has the trigger, sync in, trigger out, so it can talk with older equipment. Yeah. You're an interesting guest on the channel because like a lot of people that I've featured recently, we've gone further and further and further away from like the traditional like keyboard playing methods. So it's just cool to see someone incorporating that into their set.